The Ecorse Creek watershed can be divided into three main sub-watersheds. These include the north branch of the Ecorse Creek, the LeBlanc Drain, and the Sexton Kilfoyle Drain. The entire Ecorse Creek watershed is located within Wayne County in southeast Michigan. The north branch of the Ecorse Creek and the Sexton Kilfoyle Drain join each other in Lincoln Park and Ecorse and flow east for a half mile before reaching the Detroit River. The north branch of the Ecorse Creek flows west to east, where it ultimately discharges into the Detroit River. The creek provides stormwater conveyance for 9 communities within the drainage district: Inkster, Westland, Romulus, Dearborn Heights, Taylor, Allen Park, Melvindale, Lincoln Park, and Ecorse. The watershed is nearly 17 miles long and drains an area of over 19,000 acres. The urbanized watershed contains over 50,000 individual properties, including residential, commercial, industrial, governmental, parkland, transportation, and other land uses. The topography is relatively flat. The operation, maintenance, and overall general upkeep of Ecorse Creek are under the jurisdiction of the Wayne County Drain Commissioner. The creek was designated an official county drain in 1926, and Wayne County has held responsibility of it ever since. Ecorse Creek has experienced severe flooding throughout the last 40 years, resulting in property damage, sewer backups, road closures, and other impacts that have threatened or resulted in loss of property, environmental and health degradation, and loss of economic value. Severe flooding in June of 1968 and again in 2000 and 2004 negatively impacted more than 9,000 individual properties. The flooding in 2004 prompted the city of Dearborn Heights to petition the Wayne County Drain Commissioner to study the problem and provide flood relief. Many of the drains within the watershed were originally designed to accept agricultural flows. However, as the watershed became more urbanized and more hard surfaces such as concrete were used, stormwater runoff increased. The capacity of many of the small drains cannot handle the new, higher peak flows. This results in increased frequency and severity of flooding and erosion. In addition, the increase in solid surfaces also results in less rainwater being able to seep into the ground, which contributes to lower groundwater levels and lower creek base flows. Recurring flooding results in significant damages, such as substantial property damage, flooded roads that disrupt emergency services, and overflows into the downriver sanitary sewer system. In recent years, heavy rainfall has caused the creek to overtop its banks and flood adjacent properties. Toward the beginning of the creek, the headwaters in Romulus have lots of trees and vegetation growing in the banks. There are trees and debris laying across and along the edge of the creek. Fencing collects debris, which actually helps to keep it from falling in the creek. In this area, the creek flows under some of the road and then narrows, collecting silt. In open field areas like this one, the creek meanders and flows around, but it is not much of a flooding concern because the open field stores the overflow. But the vegetation makes it slow-moving, and the road bridge crossing the creek may cause more water to back up in a flood event. As we move downstream along Ecorse Creek, we find more debris and vegetation. In addition, the creek receives drainage from storm and sewer drains. In this case, the water stays in the storm sewer drain network and causes residual backflow. In some locations, the creek becomes very silty, and there are trees crossing the bank with more vegetation. In some areas, the creek runs through commercial areas without as many residential properties. This is an example of a location where the creek gets water from the catch basin to keep pressure off the retaining wall. In various locations, thick vegetation and large trees falling into the creek is causing blockages and impeding the creek's flow. Some of the land is higher and has been constructed as an earthen berm. Many residents have attempted to provide their own protection against erosion. But erosion in other reaches adds sediment to the creek and exacerbates the problem. At some sites, the creek flows faster, but debris may be building up and the water just flows over the debris. Corrective action is needed in locations where concrete was placed on the creek's edge to help stabilize the embankment. In areas where there is slower water flow, coupled with severe debris accumulation, flooding is more likely to occur during a heavy rain event, especially in residential areas where street flooding is possible. Some sites have higher banks, but slope to lower banks where trash and debris wash up on the shoreline. Examples of potentially affected areas include areas with homes and schools. In some residential locations, fences are being used as erosion control. There is vegetation in the slope, and as the area erodes, it exposes the roots and increases the chances of trees falling into the creek. Some areas of Ecorse Creek flow through recreation sites where it flows well. Though residential property adjacent to the bank still has erosion issues. Various locations have multiple issues such as block culverts that impede flow, and others where erosion protection is continuing to fail, especially where homes and buildings are encroaching on the creek. Local attempts try to stop erosion, however, the bank is slumping over the quick fixes. In some cases, bridges need to be repaired or replaced, but a major issue in some communities is homes and commercial buildings built too close and encroaching on the creek. Just before the creek widens to flow out to the Detroit River, there is vegetation in the park, which provides an excellent fish and wildlife habitat. From here on, Ecorse Creek widens out to the Detroit River.